Pinot Noir is a red wine grape variety of the species Vitis vinifera. The name may also refer to wines created predominantly from Pinot Noir grapes. The name is derived from the French words for pine and black, the pine alluding to the grape variety having tightly clustered, pine cone-shaped bunches of fruit. Pinot Noir grapes are grown around the world, mostly in the cooler regions, but the grape is chiefly associated with the Burgundy region of France. Other regions that have gained a reputation for Pinot Noir include the Willamette Valley of Oregon, the Carneros, Central Coast and Russian River areas of California, the Walker Bay wine region of South Africa, Tasmania and Yarra Valley in Australia, and the Central Otago, Martinborough and Marlborough wine regions of New Zealand. Pinot Noir is also a primary variety used in sparkling wine production in Champagne and other wine regions. It is widely considered to produce some of the finest wines in the world, but is a difficult variety to cultivate and transform into wine. The grape's tendency to produce tightly packed clusters makes it susceptible to several viticultural hazards involving rot that require diligent canopy management. The thin skins and low levels of phenolic compounds lends Pinot to producing mostly lightly colored, medium-bodied low-tannin wines that can often go through dumb phases with uneven and unpredictable aging. When young, wines made from Pinot Noir tend to have red fruit aromas of cherries, raspberries and strawberries. As the wine's aged, Pinots have the potential to develop vegetal and barnyard aromas that can contribute to the complexity of the wine. Description: Pinot Noir's home is France's Burgundy region, particularly in Côte d'Or. It is also planted in Argentina, Australia, Austria, Bulgaria, Canada, Chile, northern parts of Croatia, Czech Republic, the Republic of Georgia, Germany, Greece, Israel, Italy, Hungary, Kosovo, the Republic of Macedonia, Moldova, New Zealand, Romania, Serbia, Slovakia, Slovenia, South Africa, Switzerland, Ukraine, United States, and Uruguay. The United States has increasingly become a major Pinot Noir producer, with some of the best regarded coming from the Willamette Valley in Oregon and California's Sonoma County with its Russian River Valley and Sonoma Coast appellations. Lesser-known appellations can be found in Mendocino County's Anderson Valley as well as the Central Coast's Santa Lucia Highlands appellation and the Santa Maria Valley in Amstar. Rita Hills, American viticulture area in Santa Barbara County, in New Zealand. It is principally grown in Martinborough, Marlborough, Waipara and Central Otago. The leaves of Pinot Noir are generally smaller than those of Cabernet Sauvignon or Syrah, and the vine is typically less vigorous than either of these varieties. The grape cluster is small and conico-cylindrical, vaguely shaped like a pine cone. Some viticultural historians believe this shape similarity may have given rise to the name. In the vineyard, Pinot Noir is sensitive to wind and frost, cropping levels, soil types and pruning techniques. In the winery it is sensitive to fermentation methods, yeast strains and is highly reflective of its terroir, with different regions producing sometimes very different wines. Its thin skin makes it susceptible to bunch rot and similar fungal diseases of the bunch. The vines themselves are susceptible to powdery mildew, and in Burgundy infection by leaf roll and fanleaf viruses causes significant vine health problems. These complications have given the grape a reputation for being difficult to grow. Jancis Robinson calls Pinot a minx of a vine, and André Chef declared that God made Cabernet Sauvignon whereas the devil made Pinot Noir. Quote, "It is much less tolerant of hard, windy, hot and dry, harsh vineyard conditions than the likes of Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, Merlot, or Grenache. However, Pinot Noir wines are among the most popular in the world. Joel Fleischmann of Vanity Fair describes Pinot Noir as the most romantic of wines, with so voluptuous a perfume, so sweet an edge, and so powerful a punch that, like falling in love, they make the blood run hot and the soul wax embarrassingly poetic. Master sommelier Madeleine Chiffon calls Pinot sex in a glass. The tremendously broad range of bouquets, flavors, textures and impressions that Pinot Noir can produce sometimes confuses tasters. In the broadest terms, the wine tends to be of light to medium body with an aroma reminiscent of black and/or red cherry, raspberry and to a lesser extent currant and many other fine small red and blackberry fruits. Traditional red Burgundy is famous for its savory fleshiness and farmyard aromas, but changing fashions, modern winemaking techniques, and new easier-to-grow clones have favored a lighter, more fruit-prominent, cleaner style. The wine's color when young is often compared to that of Garnet, frequently being much lighter than that of other red wines. This is entirely natural and not a winemaking fault, as Pinot Noir has a lower skin anthocyanin content than most other classical red, black varieties. Calistophen, the 3-O-glucoside of pelargonidin, an orange-colored anthocyanidin, is also found in the berry skins of Pinot Noir grapes. However, an emerging, increasingly evident, style from California and New Zealand highlights a more powerful, fruit-forward and darker wine that can tend toward Syrah in depth, extract, and alcoholic content. Pinot Noir is also used in the production of champagne and is planted in most of the world's wine-growing regions for use in both still and sparkling wines. Pinot Noir grown for dry table wines is generally low-yielding and of lesser vigor than many other varieties, whereas when grown for use in sparkling wines it is generally cropped at significantly higher yields. In addition to being used for the production of sparkling and still red wine, Pinot Noir is also sometimes used for rosé still wines, Beaujolais Nouveau-styled wines, and even Vin Gris white wines. Its juice is uncolored. History, mutants and clones. Pinot Noir is almost certainly a very ancient variety that may be only 1 or 2 generations removed from wild Vitis sylvestris vines. Its origins are nevertheless unclear. In De Re Rustica, Columella describes a grape variety similar to Pinot Noir in Burgundy during the 1st century CE. However, vines have grown wild as far north as Belgium in the days before phylloxera, and it is possible that Pinot represents a direct domestication of Vitis sylvestris. Ferdinand Regner has argued that Pinot Noir is a cross between Pinot Meunier and Traminat, but this claim has since been refuted. In fact, Pinot Meunier has been shown to be a chimerical mutation which makes the shoot tips and leaves prominently hairy white and the vine a little smaller in early ripening. Thus, Pinot Meunier is a chimera with 2 tissue layers of different genetic makeup, both of which contain a mutation making them non-identical to a mutation of Pinot Noir. As such, Pinot Meunier cannot be a parent of Pinot Noir, and, indeed, it seems likely that chimerical mutations which can generate Pinot Gris from other Pinots may in turn be the genetic pathway for the emergence of Pinot Meunier. Pinot Gris is a Pinot color sport, presumably representing a somatic mutation in either the VVMYBA1 or VVMYBA2 genes that control grape berry color. Pinot Blanc is a further mutation and can either naturally arise from or give rise to Pinot Gris or Pinot Noir. The mutation reversion path is multidirectional, therefore, the general DNA profiles of both Pinot Gris and Blanc Blanc are identical to Pinot Noir, and other Pinots, Pinot Noir and Pinot Teinturier, are also genetically similarly close. It should be noted therefore that almost any given Pinot can occur as a complete mutation or as a chimera of almost any other Pinot. As such, suggestions that Pinot Noir is the fundamental and original form of the Pinots are both misleading and highly tendentious. Indeed, if anything, Pinot Blanc may be the original human-selected form of Pinot, although given the genetic variability of this long-standing genetic line, thinking of Pinot as a familial cluster of grapes sharing a fundamental and common genetic core is almost certainly nearest the truth. It is this core around which the sub-varietally identifying color variations occur, along with the more striking chimeric morphological mutation that is Pinot Meunier, and the interesting further mutations of this variety as Pinot Meunier Gris and as the non-hairy mutation which the Germans classify as Samtrot. A white-berried sport of Pinot Noir was propagated in 1936 by Henry Gouges of Burgundy, and there is now 2.5 hectares planted of this grape which Clive Coates calls Pinot Gouges, and others call Pinot Musigny. There is however no published evidence, nor any obvious reason, to believe that this is other than a form of Pinot Blanc, having simply arisen as a selected natural mutation of the original Pinot Noir in the Gouges vineyard. In the UK, the name fruit.Pinot is a permitted synonym for Pinot Meunier and stems from a vine that one of the pioneers of UK viticulture, Edward Hymes, discovered in Fruitham in Kent in the late 1940s. It was in all probability the variety known as Miller's Burgundy, which had been widely grown on walls and in gardens in Great Britain for many years. Archibald Barron, writing in his book, Vines and Vine Culture, the standard Victorian work on grape growing in the UK, states that the Miller's Burgundy also was found by Sir Joseph Banks in the remains of an ancient vineyard at Tortworth, Gloucestershire, a county well known for its medieval vineyards. Hyams took the vine to Raymond Barrington Brock, who ran what was to become the Oxted Viticultural Research Station, and he trialled it alongside the many other varieties he grew. Brock said that when compared to supplies of Meunier from France, fruit.Pinot had a higher natural sugar content and ripened 2 weeks earlier. Hyams, ever the journalist in search of a good story, claimed that this vine had been left behind by the Romans, although he provided absolutely no evidence for this. Brock sold cuttings of fruit.Pinot, and the variety became quite popular in early English revival vineyards in the last 20th century, although it is unlikely that many vines from the cuttings supplied by Brock survive in any present UK vineyards. Indeed, despite the fact that today virtually all plantings of Meunier in the UK stem from French and German nurseries, the name fruit.Pinot is still a legally acceptable synonym for this variety, although little, if ever, used by UK growers. Pinot Noir can be particularly prone to mutation, and thanks to its long history in cultivation there are hundreds of different clones in vineyards and vine collections worldwide. More than 50 are officially recognized in France compared to only 25 of the much more widely planted Cabernet Sauvignon. The French Établissement National Technique pour l'Amélioration de la Viticulture has set up a program to select the best clones of Pinot. This program has succeeded in increasing the number of quality clones available to growers. In the New World, particularly in Oregon, wines of extraordinary quality continue to be made from the Pomard and Wadensville clones. Gourmet Beaujolais is a Californian misnomer for a UCD clone series of upright growing Pinot Noir. Planted mostly in California, it also became established in New Zealand. In this latter latter country, its disposition to poor fruit set in cool flowering conditions can be problematic. Claims that the Gamay Beaujolais Pinot Noir was brought to California by Paul Masson are not correct. It was collected in France by Harold Olmo for UCD in the 1950s and was one of the first Pinot Noir vines this institution offered as a high-health clonal line from about 1962 onward. However, it was misleadingly identified at UCD as a Gamay Beaujolais type. In general, these upright-growing Pinot Droit clones are highly productive, and in California and New Zealand they give robust burley wines favored by those who like muscle rather than charm and velvety finesse in the Pinot Noir wines. In Burgundy, the use of Pinot Droit clones is reportedly still widespread in inferior village appellation, or even non-appellation, vineyards, and Pinot Droit is consequently regarded, arguably with very good reason, as a subform significantly inferior to classical, decumbent, Pinot Fine, or Pinot Tordu, clonal lines of Pinot. Fruit.Pinot is an early ripening form of Pinot Noir. Across the Pinot family, ripening in typical climates can be dispersed by as much as 4, and even 6, weeks between the very earliest clones and the very latest ripening. Virus infection and excessive cropping significantly add to the delaying of Pinot Noir ripening. Goujed Noir is sometimes confused as being a clone of Pinot Noir, but DNA analysis has confirmed that it is a distinct variety. In August 2007, French researchers announced the sequencing of the genome of Pinot Noir. It is the first fruit crop to be sequenced, and only the fourth flowering plant. Crosses. In the Middle Ages, the nobility and church of northeast France grew some form of Pinot in favor plots, while peasants grew a large amount of the much more productive, but otherwise distinctly inferior, Gouais Blanc. Cross-pollination may have resulted from such close proximity, with the genetic distance between the two parents imparting hybrid vigor, leading to the viticultural selection of a diverse range of offspring from this cross. In any case, however it occurred, offspring of the Pinot Gouais cross include Chardonnay, Allégret, Auxerrois, Gamay, Melon, and 11 others. Pinot Noir was not necessarily the Pinot involved here. Any member of the Pinot family appears genetically capable of being the Pinot parent too. These ex-Gouais crosses. In 1925, Pinot Noir was crossed in South Africa with the Cinsault grape to create a unique variety called Pinotage. Regions. Australia. Pinot Noir is produced in several wine-growing areas of Australia, notably in the Southern Highlands in New South Wales, Yarra Valley, Geelong, the Bellarine Peninsula, Beechworth, South Gippsland, Sunbury, Macedon Ranges and Mornington Peninsula in Victoria, Adelaide Hills in South Australia, Great Southern Wine Region in Western Australia, all Tasmania, and the Canberra District in the Australian Capital Territory. Austria. In Austria, Pinot Noir is usually called Blauburgunder and produced in Burgenland and Lower Austria. Austrian Pinot Noir wines are dry red wines similar in character to the red wines of Burgundy, mostly aged in French barriques. Some of the best Austrian Pinots come from Neusiedlersee and Blaufränkischland and Thermont region, Canada. Pinot Noir has been grown in Ontario for some time in the Niagara Peninsula and especially the Niagara-on-the-Lake and Short Hills, bench wine regions, as well as in Prince Edward County and on the north shore of Lake Ontario. It has also been grown recently in the Okanagan. Here it is grown predominantly on the Narromita Bench and in the northern Okanagan, Lower Mainland, and Vancouver Island wine regions of British Columbia, the Annapolis Valley region of Nova Scotia and Delanaudia and Brome-Missisquoi regions of Quebec. UK Pinot Noir is increasingly being planted in the and is now the second most widely planted variety, almost all of it for sparkling wine. France. Pinot Noir has made France's Burgundy appellation famous, and vice versa. Wine historians, including John Winthrop Hager and Roger Dion, believe that the association between Pinot and Burgundy was the explicit strategy of Burgundy's Valois dukes. Roger Dion, in his thesis regarding Philip the Bold's role in promoting the spread of Pinot Noir, holds that the reputation of boned wines as the finest in the world was a propaganda triumph of Burgundy's Valois dukes. In any event, the worldwide archetype for Pinot Noir is that grown in Burgundy, where it has been cultivated since AD 100. Burgundy's Pinot Noir produces great wines which can age well in good years, developing complex fruit and forest floor flavors as they age, often reaching peak 15 or 20 years after the vintage. Many of the wines are produced in small quantities. Today, the Côte d'Or escarpment of Burgundy has about 4,500 hectares of Pinot Noir. Most of the region's finest wines are produced from this area. The Côte Chalonnaise and Mykonos regions in southern Burgundy have another 4,000 hectares. In Jura département, across the river valley from Burgundy, the wines made from Pinot Noir are lighter. In Champagne it is used in blending with Chardonnay and Pinot Meunier. It can also appear unblended, in which case it may be labeled Blanc de Noirs. The Champagne appellation has more Pinot planted than any other area of France. In Sancerre it is used to make red and rosé wines, much lighter in style than those of Burgundy, refreshing serve chill, especially in warmer years when they are less thin. In Alsace it is generally used to make Pinot Noir d'Alsace, a varietal rosé wine. However, it is also used to make genuine red wines usually called Pinot Noir Rouge, which are similar in character to red Burgundy and Beaujolais wines but are consumed chill. Prominent examples are Rouge de Bar and Rouge de Trot. Pinot Noir Rouge is the only red wine produced in Alsace, Germany. In Germany it is called Spätburgunder, and is now the most widely planted red grape. Historically, much German wine produced from Pinot Noir was pale, often rosé like the red wines of Alsace. Overcropping and bunch rot were major contributing factors to this. However, recently, despite the northerly climate, darker, richer reds have been produced, are often barrel-aged, in regions such as Baden, Palatinate and Ahr. These are rarely exported and are often expensive in Germany. For the better examples, as Rhenish German Pinot Noir is mentioned several times in Shakespearean plays as a highly prized wine. There is also a smaller buried, early ripening, lower yield variety called fruit.Burgundy, which is grown in Rheinhessen and Ahr area and can produce good wines. In the last 20 years, efforts have been made to develop and husband good quality high health clones of fruit.Burgundy selected from Württemberg vineyards, Italy. In Italy, where Pinot Noir is known as Pinot Nero, it has traditionally been cultivated in South Tyrol, the Collio Goriziano, Franciacorta, Oltrepo Pavese, Veneto, Friuli and Trentino. It is also planted in Tuscany. In South Tyrol the variety is first noted 1838 as Bourgogne Noir in a grape wine by a list of the UK Landwirtschaftsgesellschaft von Tirol und Vorarlberg, Nähe de la Sungbosen, and later called Blauburgunder, like in Austria. The first analytical descriptions are from Edmund Mack in the year 1894, Friedrich Boscaroli, Rametz, Merin, Rametzer Burgund 1890, Shaw Herenstift Neustift, Blauburgunder 1890, R.V. Bressendorf, Vernon, Merin, Burgund 1890, C. Frank, Riebhoff Griesbosen, Burgunder 1889, Fr. Churchenthaler Bosen, Burgundy 1890 and Amp 1891, FR, Churchenthaler Bosen, Kreuzbichler 1889 and Amp 1891 and Amp 1887. Moldova. Large amounts of Pinot were planted in central Moldova during the 19th century, but much was lost to the ravages of phylloxera. Soviet control of Moldova from 1940 to 1991 also reduced the productivity of vineyards. New Zealand Pinot Noir is New Zealand's largest red wine variety, and second largest variety overall behind Sauvignon Blanc. In 2014, Pinot Noir vines covered 5,569 hectares and produced 36,500 tons of grapes. Pinot Noir is a grape variety whose importance in New Zealand is extremely high. However, initial results were not promising for several reasons, including high levels of leaf roll virus in older plantings, and, during the 1960s and 1970s, the limited number and indifferent quality of Pinot Noir clones available for planting. However, since this time importation of high-quality clones and much improved viticulture and winemaking has seen Pinot Noir, from Martinborough in the north to central Otago in the south, win international awards and accolades. As the industry has matured, many of the country's top producers have made the decision no longer to submit the wines to reviews or shows. Slovenia. In Slovenia, the Pinot Noir is produced especially in the Slovenian littoral, particularly in the Goriško-Brda subregion. In smaller amounts, the Pinot Noir is also produced in Slovenian Styria. The wine is usually called Modri Pinot or also Modri Burgundy. Spain. Not often found Pinot Noir has been produced in small amounts in Lleida province, Catalonia, under the appellation Costas del Segre. There is also a small vineyard of Pinot Noir within de Montsant which has the wine produced in cellar de Capcans, although as Pinot Noir is not a permitted grape varietal within the DU, it is released under the Border de Catalogne. Switzerland. Pinot Noir is a popular grape variety all over Switzerland. In German-speaking regions of Switzerland it is often called Blauburgunder. Pinot Noir wines are produced in Neuchâtel, Schaffhausen, St. Gallen and Bündner Herrschaft. In Valais, Pinot Noir is also blended with Gamay to produce the well-known Dole. United States. By volume, most Pinot Noir in America is grown in California, with Oregon second in production. Other growing regions of the states of Washington, Michigan, and New York. California wine regions known for producing Pinot Noir are Sonoma Coast Ava, Russian River Valley Ava, Central Coast Ava, Star Rita Hills, Monterey County, Santa Lucia Highlands, Santa Cruz Mountains Ava, Carneros District of Napa and Sonoma, Anderson Valley, Livermore Valley, San Luis Obispo County, Arroyo Grande Valley, Edna Valley. Oregon wine regions known for producing Pinot Noir: Willamette Valley Ava, Dundee Hills Ava, Eola Amity Hills Ava, Jam Hill Carlton District Ava, McMinnville Ava, Chathalum Mountains Ava, Ribbon Ridge Ava. Richard Summers of Hillcrest Vineyard in the Umpqua Valley of Oregon is the father of Oregon Pinot Noir. An early graduate of UC Davis, Summers moved north after graduation with the idea of planting Pinot Noir in the coastal valleys of Oregon. He brought cuttings to the state in 1959 and made his first commercial planting at Hillcrest Vineyard in Roseburg, Oregon in 1961. For this he was honored by the Oregon State House of Representatives. In 2011 the state of Oregon honored him for this achievement and also for producing the first commercial bottling in the state in 1967. It was announced by the state of Oregon in the summer of 2012 that an historical marker would be placed at the winery in the summer of 2013. Summers, who graduated from UC Davis in the early 1950s, brought Pinot Noir cuttings to Oregon's Umpqua Valley in 1959 and planted them at Hillcrest Vineyard in 1961. These first Pinot Noir cuttings came from Luis Martinez Sr.'s Stanley Ranch located in the Carneros region of Napa Valley. The first commercial vintage from these grapes was the noted 1967 Pinot Noir, although test bottlings were made as early as 1963. In the 1970s, several other growers followed suit. In 1979, David Lett took his wines to a competition in Paris, known in English as the Wine Olympics, and they placed third among Pinots. In a 1980 rematch arranged by French wine magnate Robert Drouhin, the Erie vintage improved to second place. The competition established Oregon as a world-class Pinot Noir producing region. The Willamette Valley of Oregon is at the same latitude as the Burgundy region of France, and has a similar climate in which the finicky Pinot Noir grapes thrive. In 1987, Drouhin purchased land in the Willamette Valley, and in 1989 built Domaine Drouhin, Oregon, a state-of-the-art, gravity-fed winery. Throughout the 1980s, the Oregon wine industry blossomed. Recent popularity. During 2004 and the beginning of 2005, Pinot Noir became considerably more popular among consumers in the United States of America, Australia, New Zealand and Asia, possibly because of the movie Sideways. Being lighter in style, it has benefited from a trend toward more restrained, less alcoholic wines being at or around 12% alcohol by volume.